Hello everyone. It is I, Alex from Cytonox, here to wish you a happy Halloween. Unfortunately, while I'm normally quite festive this time of year, things are a bit different now that Jack's, gone to hell and everything.
So far, we've been able to make things work by recording his commentary via Ouija board seance ritual, but it's a little tiresome if I'm honest.
I think if there ever was a time to find a way to extract Jack from the devil's clutches, Halloween would be an opportune time. For most people, getting in touch with the devil would be kind of a tall order, but I think I might still have his contact from the time I traded Jack's collection of trash pack toys to get all those views on our Cuphead video.
Welcome to episode 14 of my Kingdom Hearts Let's Play. So, today we're gonna...
You, make it quick. I'm working on important business right now.
Is there any way you can let Jack out of hell without him having to finish the other two campaigns of Sonic 06?
Of course. The only requirement is that enough suffering must be inflicted upon myself to tear open a rift to my domain.
Seriously? I have to hop in a saw trap or something? Ugh.
You think you can earn his freedom with a paltry few minutes of pain? How naive. No, I have just the ticket for you. You know what must be done. Complete it before the devil's Sabbath reaches its climax and your friend shall be returned to your realm. He's a fool if he thinks he'll sit back and let this happen. Attention all goons and denizens of the Netherworld. Make sure he never sees the credits.
Well, that guy's kind of a jerk. Who pissed in his cereal this morning? Well, if this is what it takes, I guess this is what I gotta do.
I have a long and storied history with this game, believe it or not. I received it as a gift from my uncle in 2012 on Thanksgiving while we all hung out at this place in Baltimore that was called Gaylord's for some reason beyond my understanding. The moment was captured with a photograph taken before my 8-year-old self could have possibly known what horrors lie within the cartridge. You see, Paper Mario was in a lot of ways my first love in the video game world. Alongside Mega Man and Metroid, this was the series I was by far the most passionate about as a youth. It was the first series I ever covered on this channel, in fact, which a select few veterans amongst you may recall. However, when I say series, I refer, of course, to the fantastic first 3 games in the series, which now contains 6 games. I have played through all of the newer entries at least once, but none of them captured my interest enough to merit a video on them. Sticker Star, the game meant to serve as a follow-up to Super Paper Mario, one of the first and best video games I had ever played, is now rightfully universally reviled. The juxtaposition in quality was shocking. Thinking back to Super, I have loads of fond memories of Jack and I farming coins to buy catch cards and freaking out if we got a rare one or playing the Abu shooting minigame and stuff like that. Sticker Star, by contrast, brings memories of confusion and tedium to mind. I couldn't even figure out how to pass World 3 initially, so I ended up dropping the game for years and returning to it as a middle schooler where I finished it off. I won't spoil the fun by revealing too many of the secrets housed within this twisted funhouse of a game though. It's one of those things you've got to see for yourself to truly comprehend. And so it is that I invite you to join me this Halloween night as I descend into the bottommost rungs of hell to do what must be done and complete Paper Mario Sticker Star before the night is through. And of course, before we begin, thank you to our patrons who continue to stave off financial devastation for our channel. This video cost me over $200 to make all said and done, so without you guys I'd be picking pockets or working as a prostitute right now. Anyways, with that all out of the way, let the second official Cytonox special commence! The game begins when Paper Bowser's soulless mute clone touches the Sticker Comet, which makes it explode into 6 MacGuffins and gives Bowser the super strongest one, because of course it does. In the aftermath, it's up to Mario to run around and find all the toads hidden throughout town, but not before meeting Kersti, who some overly generous souls have dubbed your partner through the game. She is a chronically bitter nag who will loom over your playthrough like a violent storm cloud. 90% of her dialogue is belittlement and badgering, with the remaining 10% being comically useless advice that feels like the game is making fun of you. Let's take this scenario right here at the start as an example. Gathering all the toads, as it turns out, was for some reason made to be extraordinarily difficult and time-consuming for anyone playing without a guide handy. There's almost 30 of them, and you'll feel out of ideas by the time you hit 20. If you deign to ask Kersti for advice, God forbid, she tells you something elucidating along the lines of, "Maybe you should try finding the toads." No shit! You don't say! Can game devs stop making advice characters fucking useless? Who is this helping? Find me the man who played Sticker Star and couldn't quite figure out you needed to find the toads, and then easily gathered them once this murky detail was established. Just give me a hint on a random toad's location or something. This little tutorial saga takes up about 20 minutes or so before letting you enter the town proper, which is perhaps the least interesting hub area ever conceived by mortal man. Decalburg is the Mario equivalent of those overhead pictures of 1950 suburbs they show you in American history class back in high school. It houses memorable locations like Toad House, and Toad House. One of the houses is a shop. I don't know what the other two are because the game doesn't indicate that anything interesting whatsoever resides within. Why would I go in there? I don't give a shit. Your attempt to leave is hindered by a gang of Goombas, which serves as a battle tutorial. This battle screen will unfortunately come to be a harbinger of rage over the course of the game. For those of you lucky enough to know nothing about this game, it is something loosely resembling a turn-based RPG. The major place it deviates from the genre, widely known for its enemies possessing earnable XP or valuable items, is that the enemies give you nothing at all for defeating them. There is zero incentive whatsoever. In fact, you are penalized. You get a paltry sprinkle of coins, a little tiddlywink, but it is seldom even comparable to the cost of any stickers you expended in the battle. Thus, any time spent in a non-mandatory battle is a flagrant waste of time. Before the thought even creeps into your head, let me clarify, no, it is not fun either. The fun of a turn-based RPG fight is almost entirely contingent on knowing you'll be rewarded for your time, at least for me, with an exception for boss fights. I even have an anecdote about that. As a little kid playing Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, I didn't know battles gave you anything. As a result, I avoided them whenever I could and ended up becoming horribly underleveled, making the game absurdly difficult. I finally met my match when I reached Sunnyside, whose healing made the fight virtually impossible for me at that level, leading me to quit the game for years. The lesson here is that RPG fights are friggin' boring if you don't think you get anything from them, and if this is actually the case, then people will avoid them, as seen in so many playthroughs of Sticker Star. Every second spent in a field battle is a moment of your life sapped away into the void for zero purpose. If you think about it, we all have a set quantifiable number of minutes and seconds we'll be alive. We don't know what it is, but it'll be an objective fact someday, you know. Do you really want to trade away more of your lifespan to this thing than you have to? Once this thought popped into my mind, every single failed attempt at evading a fight would fling me into a violent rage as if I was being prodded by spears from within a cage. The only good thing I have to say about the combat system is that the stickers do look pretty appealing. Once the shiny and flashy ones start showing up, it's kinda cool looking through your book and feeling the weight of your arsenal. But for now, we are in World 1, where nothing but lowly fodder is to be found. The first level is interrupted by a forced Bowser Jr. encounter, where you can instantly kill him by cutting him to death with a pair of scissors. This, you will come to find, is a running theme in the game. Every boss has a weakness that you cannot possibly know beforehand, save for this first mini-boss, and even once the fight begins more often than not. I'll just cover those as they show up, but know that they suck. The game introduces paperization not long after, which is a concept used for evil more often than not, but has a scant few proud moments of decent puzzle integration. If it was a faster process and didn't waste incorrectly used stickers, I'd think it would have been a fine addition to make the overworld traversal less dull. Other than that, this first level is merely one of the dull and inoffensive grass fields that Mario so often begins his adventures in. Aside from the automatic fun deduction of taking place within a game developed by inbred Neanderthals, it's passable. The second level is also a grass field. Any further commentary would be superfluous. It's like the most generic, uninteresting level ever.
Like, if you watch this gameplay, it's just me kind of putzing around in this, like... Oh man, this shit is gonna put me to sleep. Just gotta... Man, where the hell am I?
Welcome to my nightmare world, bitch.
Ugh, one nightmare world and into another.
You're a gamer, right? Do you have a favorite game?
Favorite video game? I don't give a shit. What's your favorite video game?
Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Ugh, remake, Freddy! I don't watch you in my fucking video. Ugh, gee, fuck, ow!
Oh, come on, what the hell? How'd you figure me out? Wait, how old are you anyways?
Dude, I'm like almost 20.
Oh, what the hell? I overshot. Get out of here, you shriveled geezer!
Seems like I can't even take a nap in peace. I can already tell this is gonna be a real chore. Speaking of chores, the game decides to throw you into another fight with a gang of Goombas at the end of this level in case the last one wasn't enough fun for you. While Goombas once made up the most prestigious upper echelons of intellectual society in the Paper Mushroom Kingdom, it seems they've fallen on hard socioeconomic times and have once again devolved into a species made entirely up of thugs. The game introduces the battle spinner here, which I'm in favor of because I love gambling and hate spending more time in combat than I have to. After mercilessly trouncing these guys, you are graciously allowed to exit the level. Your reward for escaping your second generic green field is a third green field, but with water hazards! Incredible. At moments like this, I can only make a prayer on behalf of the developers and hope that their poor little brains didn't work themselves to exhaustion thinking of all these riveting level concepts. The level does shake things up with an appearance from Kamek, who shows up just to drag the level out by an extra 5 minutes and then leave. He has a kind of catchy song, at least. There are 2 stars in this level, which was presumably meant to provide some illusion of non-linearity to the people who froth at the mouth over that sort of thing. The primary exit leads to yet another green field, and the secret one leads you to a level with a unique identity and memorable set piece. As much as I would love to take the coward's way out and skip 1-4, my YouTuber's pride won't allow me to skip over anything, no matter how horrid. Once you enter, you'll soon notice the windmill, which lies dormant with a pane blocking the door. Thankfully, this puzzle is uncharacteristically logical and resolves itself as you'd expect once you use the fan sticker to get it moving. Of course, though, nothing could be that simple. You're also required to aid a crying toad who needs an escort through the cavern below. Sounds simple, right? Wrong! That warp pipe is secretly a direct gateway to the bottommost of the 9 circles of hell! Toad cannot make contact with an enemy in any form or he will run, sobbing, back to his spot at the end of the level. Thus, you must fight every single enemy down there, a task that seems to take an eternity. Don't you dare try to go for a jumping start either. If you do, you run the risk of overshooting and exposing Toad to a buzzy beetle, sending you back to the start of the mission for another run of babysitting. In case I haven't made it abundantly clear yet, this is insanely fucking obnoxious. It's like playing Chutes and Ladders and falling all the way from the final space to the beginning, and then the guy you're playing against sets your house on fire, takes all your money, and kicks you in the balls. Why must I be subjected to this tedium again and again? Make it stop! Toad, you mewling, cowardly, sniveling shit! If you cry one more time, I'm going to tear the mushroom cap from your skull and punch you thousands of feet into the air into Bowser's castle to be devoured by feral chain chumps. Oh, look! He ran away again! Uh-oh! Ha 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 ha! Guess I have to go back again. Toad, listen to me! Can you see my rage, my unabated fury? I'm going to strangle you with both hands and stare into your eyes until I develop psychokinesis and can use it to make your head explode into fungal debris. Apologies, guys. You gotta play it to get it. It's pretty bad, it really is. Completing this arduous task grants you the password to the windmill blocks, which gives you a pipe scrap, which gives you access to the giant Buzzy Beetle mini-boss. It's boring and it sucks. Killing him does give you a health upgrade, this game's delusional, misguided attempt to play at encouraging exploration. That brings an end to the nightmare that is 1-4, and thankfully now we come to 1-5. This level is actually pretty cool. I'm willing to give credit when it's due. The Rainbow Star segment is entertaining, as those tend to be, although it'd be nice if you got XP from it, like in Mario RPG, for example. There are a series of things you have to do, like triggering a domino effect of falling background objects that culminates in getting a paperization scrap needed to progress. I'm not sure I'd call it a fantastic level or anything, but after a year of eating Spam, even grocery store chicken would taste pretty damn good. This would be a fairly typical level in most other games, but here it's a welcome oasis. After that brief respite, it's time to raid Goomba's Fortress. This would be a functional level if it wasn't within Sticker Star, where the battle system works as an inverse Philosopher's Stone, capable of turning gold to lead and gems to coal. The only thing in my mind whenever an enemy is within my general vicinity is, dear God, please don't let this guy catch me and drag me into another boring fight. Amen. It stresses me out, honestly. I dart through these rooms with gritted teeth and darting eyes like a gazelle with a broken leg in a lion-ridden savannah. When you aren't being beset by enemies, it's tolerable. It's at least a change of setting and looks pretty good. There are a handful of puzzles, most of which are painless, but one I found sort of bizarre was the blowing fans one. I spent multiple minutes pondering what the hell I was supposed to put here, and it turns out literally anything works. The size of the spots does indicate that the answer isn't a thing sticker, but I remembered that there were other instances of the game of specific non-thing stickers being required, so it kind of tripped me up. The boss fight is one of the most nonsensically designed things I've ever come across in a video game. I can't even begin to imagine what they were thinking while making this. It starts off as a battle against a horde of Goombas, which is about as riveting a concept as I've ever seen. It's only when it turns into a big Goomba that the fun truly begins, however. You might be tempted to use the battle spinner to amass maximum firepower and then hit him with your most powerful stickers. That's how RPG bosses tend to play out in games designed by human beings where you fight the bosses. Unfortunately, this game was made by a troop of monkeys, so this is instead an ineffective waste of time. You're instead supposed to use a specific thing sticker combination, the fan and then the scissors, to do an enormous critical damage strike in one turn that insta-kills him. I didn't know this because why would I? So I had to endure this laborious and repetitive slog for all 300 of his health before claiming victory. Upon doing so, Kersti wasted no time in reminding me that I was in fact a moron for not knowing this little Konami cheat code gimmick, and that next time I should try not being a worthless imbecile. Satisfied that at least my extra effort was rewarded with the knowledge that I had annoyed Kersti sufficiently, I now set off for the searing sands of Chapter 2. Historically speaking, deserts are often my favorite areas in games, or at least high up in the ranks. The faint optimistic voice in my head is telling me that this could serve as a much-needed pick-me-up. Unfortunately, before I could even enter the desert, I was met with a door that required a random hodgepodge of stickers to be applied to it. At a glance, this looks pretty easy to figure out at least. A boot, a hammer, wait, a flower, fire, or ice? I looked around and nothing nearby seems to hint toward either one. I got a first try, so it might just not matter. One thing that does matter, however, is that the mushroom is actually a poison mushroom. If you try a normal one, it just vanishes along with every other sticker you used. There is no way this puzzle was not created with insidious intent. I won't say it's impossible to figure out because the game does give you a very conspicuously placed poison mushroom in 1/6 that you would have no reason to use until now, but it's definitely a trollish puzzle that's likely to waste a handful of valuable stickers for any hapless chumps on their first playthrough. Once you get through that, you're sent out to explore the desert, which much like every other level in the game is a long gauntlet of frustratingly fast enemies who you avoid at all costs. It's almost pointless to discuss the contents of a level save for the noteworthy puzzles or nuisances because they're functionally identical otherwise. The enemies within don't matter because you won't even be fighting them, with the lone exception being enemies who stand in one spot and impede progression by body blocking you. The quicksand makes for absolutely riveting traversal with its jump button mashing action being interspersed with the threat of getting caught by a pokey and dragged into a fight. Thankfully, once that's done, you get a pretty cool room at the end where you have to navigate this large pyramid and scale it to reach the end of the level. I had a lot of fun scaling this thing for some reason. It was genuinely a nice break from the monotony. In general, I noticed this game is at its best when the gameplay is the most deviated from its normal state. I'll bring this up whenever it's relevant, but I'm specifically referring to moments where combat is either easily avoidable or non-existent, and it is focused instead on some puzzle or minigame or traversal challenge or what have you. Speaking of that, the next level on the chopping block is the Yoshi Sphinx. This is generally considered among the best by most people given its distinctive central set piece and some additional flavor added by the not one but two mini-bosses, both of whom have actual boss fights that aren't meant to be nuked in one turn with thing sticker usage. That said, calling the Koopa Squadron a mini-boss feels like a bit of a stretch to me. They're pretty easy and feel like a lamer version of the angry British dudes from Bowser's Inside Story, but it's something, I suppose. Kamek turns all your stickers into flip-flops, which are only discernible by their rarity and size afterwards. It's a funny gag, but the fight still isn't that hard because you're just beating him to death with reskinned e-cammers. Some people were really bugged by this encounter apparently, but I really don't think it's that bad. You're playing Sticker Star, amigo. If this is too much for you, I'd just quit. We still haven't even met any of the worst bosses in the game, who I assure you are really something. As for the actual level side of the Yoshi Sphinx, it's fairly typical and battles still suck, but I'm willing to extend a little more slack than usual on account of the things I just went over. As is often the case, it's pretty hard to figure out where to go, and Kersti is as useless as ever, so I spent a lot of time wandering around and whacking everything with my hammer until stuff happened. Sometimes they signal it pretty clearly, like the differently shaded wall at the start, but just as often they forget this is Paper Mario and not a Mensa IQ test. I won't act like this is an issue exclusive to Sticker Star, because that would be disingenuous. All the games other than the first one have some super weird progression puzzle at one point or another, looking at you 5-1 from Super. As tolerable as that level was, I happen to remember the next one being yet another flamboyant swan dive into the dung heap. Maybe I should take a breather. Oh, what do you know, it's like the game is self-aware. Sure, I'll take 5, why the hell not? Well, I think the game was right. It's important to get outside every once in a while and explore the great outdoors. It's raining and the weather's not great, but sometimes just seeing some green and getting some fresh air is all you need. I feel refreshed already, you know, this is a good thing for me, to get away from this wretched abomination of a game for a brief moment. Little respite.
What in the fuck?
Alright, so frankly, I really don't think Paper Mario Sticker Star deserves all of the negative and all the hate you've been giving it. Well, it's an incredible game on the Nintendo 3DS console system, and if you take off the nostalgia goggles, you would see, well, it's a great game. I think you just don't understand the game, and it's not fair to make fun of something if you haven't done your friggin' research. Honestly, your opinion is invalid, and real Nintendo fans, well, they shouldn't listen to you. If you just took the time to learn the game, you would love it, and stop being so friggin' ignorant, literally. Also, your Liza P video was really bad, and, well, you have to play it like its own game, not like Bloodborne or Sekiro or any of the other games made by the video game company that makes many historical titles also known as From Software. I hope nobody subscribes to your channel ever, really, because you're not very good at making content and you do not understand the games that you are trying to understand.
Well, folks, isn't it crazy how people disagree with me look inbred and lobotomized, whereas people who agree with me look like me? Some food for thought, if you will. This is just gonna keep happening, isn't it? What a day. I hope the spectacle at least distracted all of you from the fact that I forgot to say a word in that last line for some reason, or the fact that I've been changing shirts and locations and game platforms in every other scene. Sometimes it's best not to ask too many questions. Unfortunately, questions are all I can have while I traverse the labyrinthine hellhole that is 2-3. You're forced to blindly tumble down a maze-like shaft where the only way to go back is to go all the way down and return to the top, because nothing is as fun as repeating the same rooms over and over to get one different thing sticker. This level is largely two-dimensional in nature, so the enemy encounters are as unavoidable as death and taxes. Among these enemies are a great many who can damage you with their actions in the overworld, which sounds horrible, but I'm actually not that mad about it. I was just thankful it didn't launch you into an actual fight, which would have been so much infinitely worse. By far the greatest evil, as I said earlier, is the layout of the level. It's sort of like a giant pachinko machine where you tumble down at a series of junctions and then end up in a particular spot. You can choose your path, but it's totally blind, so it might as well be random. I sure hope this is right. Nope. Alright, back to the start I go. Maybe this one? Fuck! Wrong! Once again, this game is precluded from even reaching the status of tolerable by the level design, in which the developers have taken strenuous care to ensure no glimmer of merriment is to be found with their insistence on entrapping you within these levels for as long as possible with their gimmicks and treachery. My soul cries out for mercy, but my digital taskmaster grants me none until I finally stumble across this room containing a path over a spike pit to victory and claim the star that grants me freedom from my torment. I wonder what 2-4 is like. Oh, what's this? Looks like I'm messed up. Oopsie daisy, my bad. I guess I found the troll star that doesn't do anything. Looks like I need to go back for round 2. Incredible. This is beyond reason. Why must I be subjected to this drivel? I should have known better than to expect any other outcome than the worst possible one. Yeah, this is another level with 2 exits. Only, unlike the last one, which at least created a split in the path, one of the exits here is literally fucking useless! Hello everyone. Sorry to interrupt my hot-butted rant, but I must issue a correction I observed while editing. It does not in fact open a shortcut to 2-1, but rather 2-5, meaning both stars are technically required and neither is officially useless, but they do mean you have to play 3-3 twice, which still sucks, so I stand by everything I say after this even though it's officially factually incorrect if you want to get technical. If you get the wrong one, it just opens back a path to the first level in World 2. I refuse to grace this with the word shortcut because it literally saves like 1/4 of a second in a single leftwards directional input. In fact, the route you take bothering to get this thing is probably over 1,000 times as time consuming. I may be a lowly communications major, but my math isn't totally shot. By my calculations, that's an absolutely pointless, offensive, spiteful inclusion that serves zero purpose other than pissing me off. It's like being acquitted from death row and then the judge goes, "Ha, I'm just messing with you. It's your turn on the electric chair in 12 hours and the only food we have for your last meal is catering from Roy Rogers." Anyways, a second round of searching finds a room that reminds me a bit of a certain puzzle from Dry Ruins in the first game, but way less interesting. Completing it finally awards you passage from this level to the next, at long last. There's a specific thing sticker you need here too, so even finding the secret exit isn't enough. Imagine for a moment that you think you finally finished this gauntlet, only to realize you have to once again prowl the dingy halls of 2-3 for a baseball bat. I thank all that is holy that I happened to come across this one in my initial trip through the ruins. The next level is a massive circle with a sandstorm in the center blocking progression. Let's take quick stock of the thing stickers we've seen so far, and try to piece together which one would fix this. Scissors? Nah. Fan? Maybe. faucet? Perhaps with some weird game logic that could work. Definitely not the trumpet. You could try all of these if you wanted. Nothing would happen. The answer is the vacuum, a thing sticker you would only have if you'd explored the harbor area at some point in your playthrough. It's not totally nonsensical, but it's not the first thing that would jump into anyone's mind when presented with this scenario. We'd never be playing a word association game and I go, sandstorm, and you go, vacuum. Like, that wouldn't happen. Get real. Your reward for making it past this conundrum is the greatest gift of all, a level with no enemies that ends in less than 5 minutes. Woo! Unfortunately, another roadblock lies in wait almost immediately afterwards at the start of 2.5. You are presented with a void square that requires 3 pieces. Oh yeah, I remember these things. One from the Yoshi Sphinx, one from the... Wait a second, I only have 2. Where the hell is the last one? Yeah, here's another ugly plot twist. There's apparently a 3rd piece that managed to evade me throughout all of my exploration of the second world. Logically speaking, it's probably in either the 1st or the 3rd level, since those were the only 2 I never found one in. I don't have another run of 2-3 in me right now, so I'm just gonna scope out 2-1. Unsurprisingly, I find myself unable to locate this mandatory progression item relying on meager wit alone, so I looked up a guide. Oh, silly me! I should have thought to drown in this random quicksand pool, an act that will simply kill you in every other case. Dadoy! Shucks, it looks like we have a dipshit alert in Sector Stupid. How obvious this is in hindsight! With this reasonable and intuitive puzzle taken care of, we can finally access the tower. Did you like the gate from the start of World 1? If so, I have fantastic news for you. If not, you should find a handkerchief to sob into. This entire level is a series of those puzzles, but less obvious and populated with roaming enemies. The solutions lie in a matching game where you see what the correspondingly posed toad elsewhere on the floor is holding in the spot you're meant to paperize. It's a tad obtuse, but you'll piece it together eventually. It's repetitive and occasionally frustrating when you can't figure out how to progress, but it's nothing we haven't seen before, quality-wise. The boss, much like the Mega Sparkle Goomba, offers you a choice. A gruelingly long boss fight that ridicules you for even bothering to experience it, or an instantaneous slaughter courtesy of the baseball bat. I'm not itching to take the scenic route, so I went with the nuclear option and smoked him before he had a chance to ruin my day with whatever inane nonsense they hid in this encounter. And with that done, World 2 comes to a close, which I would call a marginal improvement on World 1 overall. Is the game trending upwards? Let's not get ahead of ourselves, my friends. We've only just begun. It is with a heavy heart that I enter Chapter 3, which, as I recall, is both the longest and most tedious of them all. I'm enjoying some apple cider before delving back into the bowels of hell. But frankly, this is the apex of how bad this game gets. I'd sooner put my dick in a pencil sharpener than put it through again, but if I gotta bring Jack back, this is how it must be. Oh, not again.
I want to play a game. For years you have mocked video games for your own amusement, but now a game shall mock you. In the 3rd world of Paper Mario Sticker Star, you will be tasked with retrieving the fractured segments of Wiggler's body. Be advised, you may find them less than cooperative. The game is simple. You have 2 hours to complete the chapter in question. Everything you need has been provided to you. Should you fail to finish within the allotted time, the metallic funnel above you will descend upon your pelvis, shredding your phallus to mincemeat. You said something earlier about this being preferable to playing the game. As the old saying goes, be careful what you wish for, Mr. Spencer. The clock is ticking.
Now I'm really in for it, huh? For the sake of my ability to reproduce, I'll just try to hurry through this one without any interruptions. Oh! Citra crashed! Wonderful, wonderful! It's a good thing I have so much free time to waste, so please, by all means, feel free to keep impeding my progress with technical errors all day. Speaking of impediments, it seems Wiggler has been kidnapped by a giant tentacle for reasons unknown. After that blazing, action-packed introduction, 3-1 goes down awfully fast, which I'm always down for. There's a forced boomerang bro fight at the end, but it, much like the level as a whole, is pleasantly quick and easy. If the whole world is like this, 2 hours should be a cinch. The Bafflewood, as 3-2 is called, is one of those Lost Woods type levels where you just have to brute force trial and error your way through. I got uncharacteristically lucky and blazed through with only a few errors. The fact that 2 levels in a row have taken under 5 minutes to complete is really unnerving. I feel like a hog being fattened up for the harvest slaughter. 'Tis the season for that, I suppose. Sure as day, the slaughter in question arrives in 3-3, Wiggler's treehouse, where it's revealed Kamek dismembered Wiggler into chunks, 4 to be exact, not counting his head. But hold on a moment, there are only 3 levels left in Chapter 3. 3-4, 3-5, and 3-6, right? Where's the 4th piece hiding? Perhaps in a normal game with normal pacing, this would be a reasonable expectation, but if there's one thing Sticker Star doesn't care about, it's not sucking. For reasons beyond my understanding, Chapter 3 is inexplicably twice as long as any other chapter in the game, as well as the host of the most awkward progression puzzles. Everything you've seen up till now has just been small potatoes. This is where the fuck you engine really revs into gear, and the full contempt of Miyamoto comes down upon you like the wrath of God. The kitty gloves are off. With 2 exceptions to come, the rest of World 3 is an unmitigated disaster. Levels are either pointless fodder or fatiguing tests of patience. Let us journey over to Strike Lane and try to track down the first Wiggler segment. He's visible pretty early on, but unfortunately seems to have grown fond of life as a mouthless, eyeless walking mound of bug flesh. He'll run away from you over and over until you knock him out of a tree and he runs away again. Then you knock him out of another tree and he runs away again. Then you find him in another room and he runs back to the start. It is here that one may be struck with the feeling that Sisyphus had become their brother in arms. Fan of Albert Camus though I may be, I think this is grounds for disproving his essay on the myth of Sisyphus where he characterizes him as happy. Do I look like a happy man to you? Am I having fun? I'm sure having a blast, aren't I? I just love endless tasks with no signs of progression. What a goddamn hoot! I'd be slapping my knees right now if I had the liberty of letting go of this 3DS. After returning all the way to the first room, the Wiggler segment finally decides to settle down after his life of debauchery and hang in your party. Now to exit the level. Wait a second, looks like there's something else I have to do here. Looks like I need a bowling ball. Did I just miss this somehow? I swear I've never seen this thing in my life. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where I gave up the game as a kid, and I don't think I was alone. I'll put it bluntly, if you didn't have access to the internet or some form of guide, you were not getting past this level. Don't kid yourself and try exploring the area like I did for so long back in the day. It's a complete waste of time, and you will find nothing. You're supposed to intuit that this is in fact not the only star on the level, and that there's some other exit hidden earlier on. Forgive me, Miyamoto-sama! I should have broken into the Pentagon, stolen nuclear launch codes, dropped an atom bomb on myself, developed mind-reading powers from the radiation, and figured this out the old-fashioned way. My bad, dude. I guess I'm just a fucking idiot. This game is unreal! Let's take him back to the world map after grabbing the star that I found and bring him back to Wiggler, shall we? Get real! You're serious! He runs away into a different level! All this for one segment! Can we play this bullshit cat and mouse game when the future of my bloodline isn't at stake? Making this thing settle down and stop running is impossible! This guy makes the Toad from 1-4 look like a 1950s housewife. I hope Wiggler doesn't mind if I return this guy with a bruise or two. I'll tell him he tripped down the stairs on the way up to the treehouse. Anyways, this level, Loop River, is a 6-room circuit of a poison lake where you stand on top of a lily pad and ride it around. You do this a lot. Eventually, you can navigate your way to the top rightmost area. Okay, found Wiggler's segment again. He wants to fight. For once in my life, I'm glad to be in a battle on Paper Mario Sticker Star. Die, you fucker. After bludgeoning him atop the head with a hammer, he finally becomes the browbeaten, submissive captive we needed him to be half an hour ago. Return him to Wiggler and go to 3-6. Yeah, it's not a boss level, it's a nothing level. Works for me. And then... nothing. Well, alright then. Looks like we're at a dead end. Except of course not. Look at the color of 3-5 on the world map. There's another exit! I should take this time to remind you that we have a grand total of 25% of the Wiggler segments right now. Just a little fun fact to consider. Anyways, I looked around 3-5 for a while and found nothing clearly indicating a second star. Other than, of course, this dead end where the only way to progress is a jump not even Mario can make. The solution is to hit some invisible blocks while riding around on the lily pad, because obviously you're going to be jumping in place over and over and hit these on accident, allowing you to progress, right? Because you know those were a thing in the game, didn't you? Invisible blocks? Jesus Christ. Go back to Wiggler's house again, grab another star, use the paper scrap I forgot to mention I found. Looks like 3-7 is open for business. The level begins with both good and bad news. The good news, Kersti is gone, hopefully to be devoured by bugs and never seen again. The bad news, you lose every single sticker in your possession. Oh, also you lost your hammer. You can't use your hammer. Awesome. Do you want me to gouge my eyes out so I can't use those either? Maybe I can pull this funnel down faster and shred my cock off now and end the misery early. What a sick joke. Eventually you find Kersti, who learns from the experience to trust Mario and becomes a much more chill companion for the rest of the game. Just kidding! She tells you to kill yourself and screams at you for being a useless bum before begrudgingly giving you the ability to paperize again. This really is a game for masochists. It has to be. Going a bit further gets you to the boss fight with the big spider guy. He dies and you get to escape the level. The end. The Wiggler segment you found runs away again, also. 3-8. This level is a bunch of trees and tree branches and spider webs and stuff. Run around and you find the Wiggler segment and beat him up also because sure, and then it's done. Dead end again, except not really because there's still that last star in Wiggler's house. 3-9 time. Much like 3-4, this one is a comical wild goose chase of finding the Wiggler segment, him running away, and repeating it over and over. Lots of moving platforms, so it's extra fun because you get to wait around a lot. I have all the time in the world right now, guys. Take your time floating and swinging around. I love waiting. This Wiggler segment finally decides to be more reasonable than the others and join without a fight. Just kidding, he runs away also to another level we haven't been to yet. Ha 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 ha! Oh, look, another pit. Maybe I'll lose my stickers again. That'd be super funny. Time to see what clownery awaits. Imagine my shock when the clownery level is 0. Yeah, surprise, it's actually the best level in the game. It's not even one of those decent levels that seem good by comparison to others because the others suck cases. Like, this is actually an awesome level and I love it. It's a game show where the primary objective is to determine whether something is truth or falsehood and do it before you get gassed to death. Lots of elucidating lore details, like a definitive proof that Peach isn't Bowser Jr.'s mom. I know that was already sort of established and would be super nasty if it was actually true, but I wasn't like totally sure it was false, I don't know. If you do enough of these, you progress to the second round where you just play Whack-a-Sniff-It. Well, it's pretty damn fun, so I'm not complaining. The third and technically final floor brings you to the Shuffle minigame, which has an actually semi-difficult final part that was quite satisfying to nail. Oh, oops, my game crashed again. Awesome, way to spoil the mood. I almost forgot the agony of my situation for a moment. I come back in and of course have to replay the entire thing. It's a fun level, but replaying it right after beating it is a real drag. Congratulations for managing to spoil my lone, solitary source of joy into curdled milk. There's a secret extra stage at the end that I of course did because I'm such a sport, which is a combination of the first 2 floors. It's a fun bonus challenge and it rewards you with a radiator, which is cool, I guess. Anyways, with 310 taken care of, surely it's time to bring this Wiggler segment to the treehouse and oh, never mind, he's running away, yet again. I'm going to start having stress dreams about this. Oh, and looky here, looks like he ran into the maze level. That's awesome, now I can live out my dream of trial and erroring my way through the maze again and fighting the Wiggler segment. What a blast. It goes exactly as expected with 0 deviation from the formula, which is something to be thankful for, I guess. With him safely back at Wiggler's household, I can finally progress to that second star in 3-4. Note that I very intentionally dropped him off first. If you don't, he just punts your bowling ball away for literally no reason and returns the ball to you as a thing that you once again need to turn into a sticker. Thankfully, I avoided this pitfall because if I did, I would have probably lost my will to keep on going. Do you think the boss fight is coming up? Get real, it's 3:11. What the actual hell is up with this chapter? Why does it keep going on and going and going and going? This is psychotic game design. This level is okay, at least. It has a sort of cool gimmick of finding fake poison puddles and going through walls and floors and whatnot. It's probably the best of the non-gimmicky levels in the area. After that, you finally get to the last level of the area, 312, except not really. Wiggler is being harassed by some enemies who have Stockholmed him into fighting you somehow. What is with these Wiggler segments, dude? Is this one gonna drop a heroin needle thing when I beat him, or maybe some Xanax? What a fucking worthless bum. If I was Wiggler, I would send these segments to a tag 'em and bag 'em animal shelter and get used to life as a disembodied head. Unlike the others, clobbering him isn't enough to persuade this segment to join you. He runs to not just another level in World 3, but all the way to the harbor. It's all so very tiresome. Luigi can be found hiding in the background here, which is also present in a number of other levels, but he wants no part in your suffering. It's lame, but I can totally get it from his point of view. I'm gonna run out of time sooner or later, so I really need things to stop dragging here. Talking to the segment at the harbor wins him over, which means it's time to reassemble Wiggler. Have fun spending 10 minutes in paperize mode to do this task, which apparently could not have been done in a cutscene that took 1/10 as much of my time. Healing Wiggler allows you access to the island off the coast in 312 where you're up against the source of the poison, Gooper Blooper. This is it, the home stretch. Let's make this quick. I think I remember him being weak to the sponge, so let me get him to poison it and kill himself. Haha, yeah, eat that, looks like I'm free after all. Wait, only 30 damage, what the hell? Of all the times for them to design an actual boss fight they pick now, I've only got a couple minutes left.
People are so ungrateful to play video games, but not you. Not anymore.
Thank you. Thank you guys, thank you. Yeah! It is done! This also marks me being about 2/3 done with the game. Thanks to the awful pacing, we're finally off to the northern half of the map, which makes the progress feel ever so palpable. Only there's one problem. To get up north, we need a boat. Unfortunately, the process of getting one isn't just talking to an NPC or something, because that wouldn't be laborious enough. No, we must first use the light bulb to get the wheel, then use the scissors to cut the rope, and of course it's all topped off with a boss fight at the end. Didn't expect that, did you? I didn't, which sucks for reasons you'll see in a moment. It's a giant sheep who hides in the water as to prevent you from attacking it. So, what's one to do? Use the fish hook acquired from the hidden door in 3.6, of course. You did pick that up, right? Only a total idiot wouldn't think to purchase a secret door sticker and use it in that specific level, right? Ha ha ha! I actually did do that, because 3.6 is the level where you can buy the secret doors, but that could have easily proven a massive roadblock for anyone who wasn't so lucky. Getting the fish out of water, however, is no big deal. The real fun begins once he comes out to play. This is, as it turns out, literally the worst boss in the game. I mean that. The stupidest, most offensive, cruel, cryptic, and unnecessary mound of refuse in this game is in fact the big cheap. You see, fighting him normally after he's out of the water doesn't quite hack it. Each turn he grows and grows, gaining more power each time. Oh, so a DPS test, right? I've seen his type before. Wrongamundo, Slick. Eventually he reaches a point where he just outright kills you. Yep, you fucking die! With no warning! Why the actual fuck is a fish able to instantly kill me? What about this fight would suggest instant death was looming so close overhead? Maybe he'd do a lot of damage, sure, but death? Death? Oh, it's fun time! Let's play a game called When Was the Last Time I Saved? Let's see, if I had just beaten the chapter boss and been in a position of relative peacetime where no levels were being completed by autosave, then that puts me before I collected a single one of the required materials to enter the fight. This is not a game. This is torture. Malignant, evil torture. They can't do this to me. They can't keep doing this to me. Let me out. I made sure to wipe my ass all over him with maximum firepower in round 2, as he deserves. Rot in Davy Jones' locker, you fishy bastard. At long last, I arrive at the icy gates of World 4. Thankfully, this is the best world in the game by a significant margin, woohoo. There's misery aplenty, as with anywhere else in the game, but there are far less moments where it just drops its trousers and plots its nutsack on your plate. The first level has some pros and cons. The pros are that the bland-looking normal stickers are largely replaced by their far more aesthetically pleasing shiny counterparts. Not that I'm using the things often, but they sure are nice looking in the old sticker book. The downside is that avoiding the enemies here is like dodging raindrops in a typhoon. Also, the timing for the snowballs is weirdly difficult. You can smash them with a hammer or try to navigate around them, but both of these options require the timing of a trained surgeon to pull off properly. Failure sends you tumbling all the way down the hill again, so you just gotta go for it over and over till it works out. It's sort of like slamming your head into a brick wall to try to break it down, but that's maybe an overly harsh analogy. Perhaps a wall of unhardened clay, or plywood perchance. Eventually you come to a little rectangle with a paperization spot next to an untraversable snow mound. The answer here is pretty logical, being that radiator back from Sniff It or Whiff It. Just trot on along and you reach the end of the level. Oops, excuse me, one of the ends of the level. I feel nothing anymore. I go back to hunt around, and honestly it wasn't that bad. I couldn't dramatize this into something interesting without being disingenuous. The next level is a rather unique one where you're running up this ice river the whole time. It can be occasionally annoying when the Cooligans, that's the penguins for the uninitiated, randomly develop advanced satellite-powered tracking abilities out of nowhere, but it wasn't enough to bring my blood to a boil. Part of me wonders if I've almost been vaccinated in a sense and acquired a higher tolerance for mental duress. The next level is the famous Enig Mansion, the other half of the renowned duo of good levels in this game along with Sniff It or Whiff It. What a treat this is! It's long enough to feel like an actual area rather than just a level, and has a fun objective, a well-designed map, and puzzles that are actually logical and fun to piece together. Remember when I said paperization has its moments back in the Chapter 1 segment? This is them. Things like swapping identically shaped items, flipping things around, and so on are all pretty novel uses of the technique. Normally these puzzles come with a sense of bitter bemusement and a thought of, how was I supposed to think of that? Here it's more of a, oh, so that's how you do it affair. It's the stuff that gets the hamster wheel in your head running, which is nice because Lord knows those guys needed some nourishment and exercise. Hunting down booze is a fun objective, but it runs the risk of becoming annoying in a similar vein to the initial tutorial toad hunt. But, thankfully, they masterfully skirted around the pitfall by simply not making them that absurdly hard to find. There's a pleasant sweet spot that's right on the money here. That said, it has one skeleton in its closet, that being the big boo boss. Do you like pressing the A button? That's a trick question. It doesn't matter what your answer is. Do it 100 times in a row without pause. Shout out to Kamek for being responsible for the overwhelming majority of awful things in this game. We couldn't do it without you, man. MVP of being a waste of oxygen. Well, I'm sick of being in houses, not just in the game, but in real life. I think I'll take another stroll while I'm still in a good mood and able to enjoy being alive.
I hung out in these woods all the time as a kid, but they removed the bamboo forest here for some reason, which is super lame. Times, they are a-changing, I tell ya. You know, I get the feeling I'm being watched. Dude, I can see you. Your shoulders poking out from behind the tree. Dude, is that Jason Voorhees from the hit horror franchise Friday the 13th? Dude, I'm a huge fan. I love 58% of your movies. Check it out. I even have the ring on my finger. Oh shit, he must think I've had sex before. Oh god. Oh god. Jason, wait, you've got the wrong guy. Look, I've never done a drug in my life, and I absolutely respect the sanctity of marriage. If there's anyone you should be going for, it's mommy dearest. You know how babies are made, right? You sure as hell didn't come from a stork. That's how it is, my friend. Instead, your mom had someone put their wiener in her a bunch of times, and then you popped out. Oh my god, Jason, look over there!
Hi, Jason, it's your mom. I love sex so much I did it 100 times and then I smoked the weed. Oh my god, Jason, look backwards again.
Go get her, champ.
Boy, do I love educating the youth. I taught preschoolers back in high school, you know. Mostly had to do magic tricks, though. Anyway, speaking of magic, a little bit of paperization lets you stroll into the lift at the start of 4-5, which begins a minigame. It's a long minigame, full of damaging obstacles and practically unavoidable fights. It's also really long, like way longer than it has to be. The enemies in question are annoying. Did I mention it's long? Just watch the footage, it'll convey the feeling of playing it better than words ever could. Your reward for beating this level is probably the lamest boss level ever. You walk in to find a long line of Shy Guys. You can either wait like a gentleman or be an asshole and murder the people in front of you to speed up the process. That way is probably the intended route, but it also involves fighting, which would drag the time out to be more or less equivalent to the first method. Thus, you are presented with the choice between fighting or watching paint dry, waiting in a fake line for a fake ride. You should all be able to guess what I chose, bitter curmudgeon that I am. Once you make it to the front of the line, you get to play a little minecart minigame interspersed with some paperization, puzzles, and hazards. I'll just say it up front. Donkey Kong Country this ain't. Sluggish movement and the threat of being sent back to the start upon failure ensure that this is a fun-free zone. The solution for the puzzle here is also absurdly difficult to notice. Need a scrap? Block the shy guy on the other cart with any sticker, which for some reason stops his cart. Need the tracks to reverse? Oh, you should have noticed the tawny twack fragment that's inverted, you silly goose. Make sure to enjoy the additional circuit around the room you need to perform to actually utilize this ramp once you solve it. Trust me, man, it gets way more fun the 27th time you have to do the loop. Once this minigame has the dignity to come to an end, you get to a cool boss at least, literally. It's the Bowser snow statue, but not really, because nestled within is actually Mr. Blizzard. The Bowser statue has this satisfying damage-taking progression thing where the more you beat him up, the more banged up he looks, until it eventually collapses to reveal its master. We had a true battle between men on this snowfield. We went all out, beating each other up until we were sick. By the end of the duel, Mario had a paltry 15 health and Mr. Blizzard had just 1. Whoever landed the next blow was going to be the victor. I struck him down with my hammer, the most honorable way to have done him in, and listened to his final words with respect in my heart and tears in my eyes. Mr. Blizzard is a hero and deserves to live in a better game. Until next time, Snow Soldier. Until next time. With the snow area done, it's time to head to the jungle. Oh wait, no it's not. Bowser Jr. decides to jump you out of nowhere for some reason, immediately after you came out of a boss battle and before you've had a chance to heal back at Decalburg. He's like a hyena. If Bowser Jr. was a boxer, he'd be the kind of guy to sucker punch people in the back of the head while they reach out to touch gloves. What a hellion. If it's a fair fight, he goes down with a whimper, so they had to resort to cheap ambush tactics to make it a sufficient nuisance, I suppose. With that roadblock pummeled sufficiently, it's time to breach the jungle. This first level is probably the most infamous in the whole chapter for good reason. One of the major platforming mechanics here manages to malfunction on a frequent basis, which can potentially make the process of figuring out what to do way more confusing than it ought to be. I'd like to introduce you to these flowers. Numerous times throughout the level you are required to jump on top of one of them to continue. Unfortunately, the cinch is that if you stand on top of one, they eat you, spit you out, and you do not cross the gap. How do you prevent this? In theory, by hammering it. The problem is that doesn't work. Watch this, I'll go right up to this one. 1, 2, let's give it a go. Plant food. Incredible. This might lead some people to assume that there's some other intended solution and waste away hours trying to piece together an alternate route or something. Nope, it's just a bugged out mess of spaghetti code. Why would people who evidently hate other people so much decide to become game programmers? They'd be more at home as prison wardens or parking cops, methinks. They should have gone into a more respectable field, like screaming obscenities at children's games. Anyways, if you can get the flowers to actually work, it's onwards and forwards to the main nexus of the level. You will be met with a familiar sight upon approaching the center. 3 missing bridge pieces, each one held by a shy guy. They run off in different directions and it's up to you to jug them for their scraps and bring them back. One of them runs off to a garbage heap, which to an optimistic player could be interpreted as a self-referential satire piece. I interpret it as a garbage heap, but it all comes down to your stance on metaphysical idealism.
Huh. Almost didn't see you there. Pardon me. Did you get that last joke? I'm very impressed. Clearly you're among the most sophisticated echelon of Cytonox viewers. Please excuse the braying of my hound, by the way. She's out prowling the grounds for game. I would like to present you with this. 1 Cytonox point. Or CP for short. I know that it'll be in good hands with someone like you. This is going to be a thing on the channel, by the way. Cytonox points are the new currency for clout on our little exclusive club.
If you were really extra smart, you'd realize that that wasn't a correct application of that concept, and I was making up nonsense to justify that bit I recorded on a whim. You get 5 CP if that super brainiac is you. Anyways, I could really use that kind of brain power right now because I'm stumped as to what I'm supposed to do here. You can rummage around and find a series of amusing objects, but eventually the trail starts to run cold and you really start thinking about how many times you'll have to pick stuff up to find the shy guy holding your scrap. Where do you think he is? Look at the map and picture a spot in your mind where the shy guy could be hiding. Got one? Whatever it is, it's wrong. He's not accessible from the pile. You could search 100 times and find nothing. The existence of the rummage feature is a literal red herring. Instead, you're meant to use a thing sticker. This one's gold. I feel like Dora the Explorer making all these participatory questions for the audience, but I really want the enormous divorce between normal human thought processes and the puzzle solutions in this game to hit home. Gotta guess? It's a goat! Make a goat eat the trash. I mean, I knew they ate tin cans as a semi-obscure piece of animal trivia, but is that household knowledge? Even if you did know like I did, I wouldn't think to project it onto a multiple-ton mass of garbage. But then again, everything in this game is a matter of projecting onto a mass of garbage, is it not? Wow, that turned out rather eloquent. Truly the greatest measure of a critic, even more so than his commentary is his prose. Or so I'd like to believe, because most of my commentary is screaming at people I'll never meet. Anyways, taking that guy down means only 2 bridge pieces remain. One of them is out gallivanting in the fields just in the foreground of the bridge. Because I hate fun and love bridge pieces, I bludgeoned him to death with a hammer and went on my way to the final Shy Guy. Here, one is likely to run into another roadblock regarding the plants, in addition to the usual hitbox nonsense. At first glance, it's obvious what you're supposed to do. Whack the plant, run as fast as you can to the top of the leftmost hill, and jump across to the Shy Guy before the flower reactivates. The problem? This is physically impossible! Believe you me, I tried and tried. Aha! Maybe I need to paperize something. Nope, getting colder, not even close. The answer is something that is only relevant one other time in the game that you likely once again forgot was a feature. Invisible blocks! Of course, nothing signals to you where these are. You must run around and swing your hammer at every last blade of grass surrounding the hill because there is an absolute dearth of intel that would suggest any one spot as the location, save for the inconspicuous lack of a grass border on this part of the wall. This level may well be the intellectual nadir of the game, where conscious thought goes to die. Every problem you meet is solved with either hitting something with a giant mallet or a logic puzzle designed by aliens who learned what humanity is by watching Xavier Renegade Angel. After putting all 3 of these into their rightful place, the level ends and it leads straight into the strangest duology of levels in the game.
Thankfully, the next level, 5-2, is rather straightforward and... Oh, hold on a second. Looks like I'm getting a call. Hello there, you've got the one, the only Alex Spencer on the line. I'm in the middle of something important, so make it quick. What can I do you for?
Important, but to me, it looks like you're just playing a game on your 3DS.
Yeah, it's for my internationally acclaimed YouTube channel, Cytonox. We just hit 15,000 subscribers lately. What are you, living under a rock?
I can tell it must have been a big day, based on how excited you look talking about it.
Oh, yeah, my smile? Well, I've been practicing for when the journalists start to show up in a little while. Can't blame me, can you?
Dude, take a hint him inside your fucking house.
Oh, by the way, why does your voice sound like that?
Throat cancer. I do all my talking with TikTok text-to-speech now.
Sorry to hear that, man. Anyways, what can I do for you?
I need you to go upstairs and stand on the X I made on the floor with tape.
Sure, no problem.
Haven't you ever seen one of these videos before? This is usually the part where the character, played by the YouTuber's friend in a spirit Halloween costume, jumps out and beats them up.
Oh, like the angry video game nerd? I'm not quite on his level yet, man. I still can't figure out how to glue my tripods to the ceiling. Oh, come on, there's nothing in here.
You idiot. I'm gonna cut you like a hog. What's your ranking of the Friday the 13th movies? If your list sucks, you're as good as dead.
Starting with the best? Hold up, let me check my list. 6, Jason X, Freddy vs. Jason, 7, 5, Manhattan,
Remake, 4, 3, 2, 1, Jason Goes to Hell. Finally, someone who doesn't jerk off the first 4.
Right? How does someone possibly enjoy the first couple more than Jason X? Dude, I'm a fucking moron, and I think the movie would be better if instead of in outer space, it took place by a bunch of trees and there were no robots.
Dude, honestly, I don't even really want to tell you I just drove here because that pussy the devil sent me over.
What? Are you serious? No wonder I can't go more than 15 minutes without running into one of you guys. Can you do me a solid and tell the devil to tell the other guys in line to piss off and do something else?
Sure, I can make a few calls.
Say, who's gonna come in during the 6th chapter anyways? Myers? Oh man, he didn't think he could put out Halloween Ends and show up in a Cytonox video, did he? Ay, ay, ay.
Please, he does the same thing as Jason but looks less cool.
Alright, I gotta get back to beating this game, man. It was nice hanging out. Take care. See you around.
That should put an end to that nonsense. I still can't decide if I'm thankful or not for the way these two play out. Essentially, the gimmick is that you're going down a stream on a log raft whose health is represented by the amount of remaining logs. Losing these logs increases your movement speed, which is controlled by where you stand on the raft, but risks an instantaneous game over should you fail to protect it. It's generally rather mind-numbing and feels overly long, but it is at least devoid of fighting and takes up far less time than 2 traditional levels would have in their place. 5-2 took me just under 3 minutes to complete, which I'll definitely accept as an alternative to a mildly more engaging 15 minutes. 5-3, on the other hand, couldn't resist bringing in a small little sprinkle of foolishness to ensure you went too long without enduring some emphatic display of developer-side stupidity. Should you successfully evade the fish, which I did so flawlessly by the way because I'm incredible at video games, you reach a peaceful stream at the bottom of a large waterfall. You come to a junction near the end, which requires you to be on the absolute leftmost part of the screen to access. If you fail to react in time and take the normal straightaway, you can't just take another go at it. Instead, the game mocks you with a star, and you should all know what this means by now. Absolutely tremendous! A rousing round of applause for whoever decided that this level needed this last-second twist, if you please. Whoever you are, know that everyone on Earth loves this level and would love to shake your hand. I'd love to know how you spend your free time. Drowning kittens, perhaps, or stealing change from the homeless. Don't tell Jack, but I want you to be the godfather to my future children. Let's hear it for this guy, who just had to add this in for some reason. Incredible. Once you complete the level for a second time, you'll enter the side path, only to realize it loops you back to the waterfall. How curious. Go back around, paperize the door, go do a lap and hit the showers. Now welcome to Womp Ruins, which I actually thought was a fun level. Sue me. There are a couple levels in the game that I think deserve a lot more mention in the minuscule list of good levels, and this is one of them. It's a very puzzle-focused experience with a lot of doorways and ramps and paperization puzzles that actually make sense. Some light platforming touches too as a pleasant garnish. It's like doing a cereal box puzzle if it was designed for people able to count past their fingers. Man, listen to me. Next thing you know, I'll be buying adult coloring books. Anyways, if there is one thing that makes me less inclined to grant this level the same prestige as the prior 2 All-Stars we've come across, it's the fight at the very end with the Chain Chomp. This might very well be the most difficult to figure out moment in the game. I assure you that this is the most convoluted and nonsensical one yet, even more so than the ridiculous invisible block ones. You come to a dead end with a sleeping Chain Chomp. Is he a boss? Nope, he takes 0 damage from anything. Strike down his pull, nothing happens. Don't bother paperizing, that's not it. Do you want that end of the level star? Sit through 3 turns of nothingness, after which he will wake up and lunge at you, exiting the battle and knocking down the walls. There is absolutely 0 precedent for anything in a fight affecting the outside world in this manner. Not one person has ever solved this through conscious internal thought. There's no way. There's just people accidentally stumbled across it if they were lucky, or they used a guide or something. I don't know. Absolutely insulting. Next up, we have Rugged Road, where the train of delusional puzzle solutions keeps on chugging with no stops in sight. You are blocked almost immediately by a series of lava flows. It's pretty clear you can't progress further without using some item for another. Hop into paperization mode and behold, it is indeed a thing sticker that must be placed. More specifically, a refrigerator. I hate to be that guy, but the science behind this is complete fantasy. Even my 10-year-old self would laugh at you if you told him fire lost to ice. Cold is simply the absence of heat, not a separate observable form of energy that can overpower a lesser amount of heat. To make this puzzle make sense, you have to think like that one kid in your 3rd grade class who was in the reading group whose vocab was sets of 3-letter words ending in the same suffix. Very specific analogy, but you know what I mean. It's a little degrading. After that level is boring fire stuff and you do some puzzles. I can't even muster the will to talk about the rest of Rugged Road because it is not even the funny kind of bad. It's just aggressively dull and full of hard to figure out roadblocks. The last level, thankfully, is honestly pretty good. Probably my 3rd favorite in the game. Like the Enig Mansion, it feels like a more fleshed out area than a Super Mario Bros. Style level. You make your way up the volcano interior starting from the bottom, all without Kersti, I should add. I didn't mention this earlier, but Kersti's advice in this chapter is particularly purposeless. In the Shy Guy Bridge segment, one of the most awkward parts of the game, she makes some inane comment about the humidity of the jungle. Every last word that comes out of her mouth is just complaining. I can't stand people like that, especially because they're often so oblivious to how frequently they do it. I wonder how on earth those hateful souls can live with themselves. Anyways, back to how much this game sucks. The Chain Chomp puzzle returns here, and while you at least know the solution in advance, now they make it awkward by making the sleep part of the equation fall on you now. I had one of those sleep hammers handy, but if I didn't, I suppose I'd have had to just toss my hands in the air and kicked up volcano dust. At the end of the gauntlet comes a battle with PD Piranha, one of the most weirdly overhated bosses ever. What did this guy do to you people? I see furious rancor over this boss, but it's fine, honestly. Fight him normally like an actual boss for a few turns until he coughs up Kersti and goes belly up, allowing you to use the battle spinner and go to town with your big guns. Hitting him for hundreds of damage with those clone jumps was incredibly satisfying. I give credit where credit is due. With the final royal sticker other than Bowser's safely in the scrapbook, the end is finally in sight for yours truly. That sounded kind of like something Flint Cragley from Super would say, didn't it? Boy, do I miss characters being a thing. Here we are, the grand finale. 6-1 is not even a level, it's just a cutscene that ends with the revelation that you need to find someone who can fly. Well, as you all know, there is literally only one actual NPC in the game, so it shouldn't take too much time to narrow your options down to Wiggler, who has since evolved into Flutter. He's a good sport, so he agrees to fly headlong into danger to lift you up to the level of Bowser Jr.'s airship, the first and final actual level of World 6. It's pretty cool, honestly. I've always been a fan of airships, and this is not a poor showing by any means. Flipping the Bonsai Bill launcher around is outright the funniest moment in the game to me, and the only case where paperization being as laboriously slow as it is pays off. This might be insane, but the best comparison I could make to any movie scene would be that one from No Country for Old Men, where Anton Chigurh tells that guy to step out of the car before slowly holding the cattle gun to his head and shooting him. It's comical. The final Bowser Jr. fight is designed like shit in the sense that he's literally invincible if you don't bring a bunch of tail items to the fight to counter his spike balls, which you have no way of expecting before entering the fight. Thankfully, I'm a dirty cheater, so I knew this already and rolled up with like an entire page of shiny tails. If the game isn't playing fair, I'm not going to either. Suck my balls, you little snot. That brings us to the very final level, the last hurdle between the freedom of both Jack from Hell and myself from my own personal nightmare. It starts out with a very foreboding Kamek fight. He declares it a vicious fight to the death, from which only the wielder of true power will leave alive. I then beat him to death with some shoes before he could even attack me, which reduced him to ash. He never could walk the walk very well. Next up is Bowser, who is the winner of the Most Obtuse Fight Award, above even Big Cheep Cheep thanks to its sheer duration. RPGs are notorious for their multi-phase final bosses, and for whatever reason, this was one of the tropes they decided to plunder from the genre while making this unnatural homunculus of a game. The amount of specific thing stickers required to beat Bowser will make your jaw drop. How many do you think? 3, maybe like the Big Cheep Cheep? Maybe 4? That'd be pretty much. Not even close! It's okay, it's an easy mistake to make to try to apply human logic to this game. You have to put yourself in the mind of a hateful saboteur dedicated to tarnishing this series in every possible way in every second of the experience. Only then will the true answer of 6 reveal itself to you. Yes, there are really 6 stickers that are essentially required to progress. If you were unlucky enough to not possess all of them, death, you're done. No, they do not provide you with any information that would indicate what these are beforehand or after you die. What did you really expect? In the first phase, Bowser has a trio of enemy-spawning hatches on the wall. The answer? The stapler, of course. You probably have this one, given how it's almost impossible to miss back in the Ennick Mansion, but if you used it earlier and never picked up a replacement, your run is dead! Too bad! A small minority of people might have snagged the tape somewhere, which also works here, but those two are your only recourse. After that's all done with, it's on to Phase 2. A Womp is running defense for Bowser now and has immense defense. The answer, of course, is using an e-camera and then scissors right afterwards to cut him up. Fantastic, now the fight can really begin. You might be low on health, so now would be a great time to try the cake sticker. What the fuck? I tried just about every possible command and nothing happened. Whose bright idea was it to make each thing sticker a complete mystery as to what it does and how to maximize its effects? I know I'm not alone in this scenario. I've seen a lot of people try specifically the cake out in this fight and get screwed as a result. I looked it up out of curiosity and was absolutely flabbergasted on 2 fronts. Firstly, the controls. You're supposed to blow into the mic. Who would ever try that? What a stupid dogshit feature. I've never seen a single game where its inclusion was anything other than a blemish on its record. It's not even mapped to anything on my emulator, so it was outright impossible for me. Secondly, if you pull it off, guess what it does? Guess. It just damages the enemy. 0 healing whatsoever. Who would expect a cake to do anything other than restore health? In the other games in the same series, it restores health. In the other games in the genre, it restores health. In real life, it makes you obese and kills you a tiny bit, but that's not really important here. If you die, by the way, you don't just go back to Bowser. You have to start before even entering the level, for God knows why. Psychotically designed finale, which has now forced me into a corner. I'm doomed if I can't get a triple mushroom in the slot machine. Thus, my only hope of not having to repeat the whole battle is save scumming until I get a win. Desperate times call for desperate measures, you know? Come on. Come on. Come on! Yeah! Got it! I'm saved! Right? Right? Did that seriously just break the game? Are you serious? This can't be happening. I was so close. I was so close to done with this game, and it has the gall to yank me back in just as I see the light. This is what I get for playing on an emulator, but the only way to record 3DS footage is mailing your 3DS to China for 5 months and paying a guy $400 to make it compatible with a capture card, which is just ridiculous. Bruised and beaten but not broken, I once again delve into Bowser's castle for another crack at this monstrosity of a final boss. When you damage Bowser enough after killing the Womp, there's a third phase where he summons fireball dudes to attack you, which you're supposed to freeze using the fridge or something. Just as it was in World 5, this logic is ass backwards and makes no sense whatsoever. Once they're suspended in midair, use the fan to blow them back at Bowser, doing a hefty slice of damage. Finally, he'll walk onwards to the back of the hallway and summon a Chain Chomp. You once again must use a tail, which if timed successfully can knock the Chomp into Bowser, sending him tumbling off the ledge to his supposed death. I should add that the timing on that is actually sorta hard since the Chomp goes slower than you'd expect. Anyways, this is of course not the end. 4 phases? Clearly not enough. If we don't add another one, people might still have a faint will to live afterwards. We wouldn't want that, would we? But don't fret, this is secretly a blessing in disguise. After your attacks become completely ineffectual at damaging this shiny new form of Bowser's, Kersti offers to kill herself to give you more power. Gee, really? I thought you'd never ask! Die for me, you miserable crone! Hallelujah, the nightmare is over. With the power granted from Kersti's demise, Bowser goes down when faced with the full brunt of Mario's joy, and all is well again. Peach is freed from captivity and informs Mario that he can make one wish now that he has all the Dragon Balls in one place. Wow, a wish for anything. Now that's a big question. I sure hope Mario puts this wish to good use. No! No! He revives Kersti! What would you go and do that for? We had it made, Mario. You could have done anything and you squander it on that? That's practically terrorism, unleashing that thing back into the world. Tell me, Mario, at what point along your adventure did you become so darn attached to that little ray of sunshine? Was it the verbal abuse or the worthless patronizing advice? Ugh, what a waste. Well, on the bright side, that's a problem for the Mushroom Kingdom and not me, because I'm done! I'm free! And now I get to sit back and watch the credits, where I'm rewarded for all those times I found Luigi in the paperization mode with a singular parade float in the credits. Incredible. One final grand gesture of insult to the player before sending you off to better things. At the end of the day, Sticker Star is depressing more than anything else. It's definitely full of frustrating moments and cryptic progression, but that's not going on the entire time. My default emotion while playing the game was not anger, but boredom. It ranges from atrocious to decent, with rare flashes of genuine quality like the Enig Mansion and Sniff It or Whiff It. My initial diagnosis was that it was the result of Miyamoto smoking crack and being the George Lucas of Nintendo, but as with any game, a lot of insight can come from knowledge of its development. Apparently Intelligent Systems was free to follow or ignore Miyamoto's advice at their discretion, so I guess Intelligent Systems just asked Miyamoto to pass the meth and went to town, meticulously crafting the worst product imaginable. It went through numerous builds, the order of which a lot of people are confused on. Only one of them ever had partners, but even this early one was still probably doomed to suck, because Miyamoto had already made his notorious request that it ought to only use established characters and avoid a complicated story from the outset. I read somewhere that the decision to axe the story came from a poll conducted by Nintendo Club that reported less than 1% of players cared about the story in Super Paper Mario, so if we want to take our witch hunt to the absolute origin, I guess we'd have to track down this silent majority of people who just button mashed the dialogue and still enjoyed the game somehow. It's a tough pill to swallow for some, but this game never even had the faintest hope of being good. It was quite literally dead on arrival, DOA, with the most notorious bad ideas of all being present from its inception. The Thing stickers were one of the final mechanics added and definitely one of the worst, so I guess there's some timeline where at least the most offensive progression puzzles were axed. The fact that Nintendo is so loath to return to the origins of the series is baffling to me, because it would make a metric ton of money. There are a lot of things Nintendo would be smart to do if money were their sole incentive, and yet somehow they frequently manage to make the most evil or stupid choice possible. I genuinely believe that one of their primary motives is the spread of human misery, because it would just explain so much. Their ridiculously hostile copyright policy, hatred of Smash Bros. Tournaments, cruelty towards their own fans, and other things just make it hard to imagine another answer. This game, in light of that knowledge, could be considered their magnum opus. Raising the hopes of a beloved series the way they did only to follow it with this soulless husk of an experience is just chef's kiss. It's comparable to dangling a chicken thigh on a string above an emaciated beggar and then yanking it up and laughing every time he jumps. It's a master class of cruelty. Earlier in the video, I made fun of people who disagree with me as a joke, but most of the time even the most irritating comments have some degree of basis in reality. Sticker Star defenders, however, I seriously think are just mentally deficient. Every defense I see of the game is typed at a 5th grade reading level and riddled with circular logic and bizarre arguments. I think back to one Reddit post I saw arguing that Kersti is in fact not useless and proceeding to cite in-game story reasons as to why this is true, such as her granting Mario the ability to paperize. I don't know how these people are real, and the idea that they may have internal dialogue or thoughts is absurd and inconceivable to me. In conclusion, this game is a tedious waste of time, and anyone who disagrees with me is probably ugly and dumb. Anyways, I've done my part. Time to bust Jack out of the clink. .666 Slaughter Avenue. I think this is the place. Let's hope the devil doesn't decide to be a little bitch about this.
I always decided to be a bitch. Your soul is mine now, pussy boy. What the hell is this? Did you leave a cross on the floor?
Cross? No. I'm afraid it was simply my copy of No More Heroes 2, Desperate Struggle for the Nintendo Wii. Once you revealed you liked Kingdom Hearts, it was a simple matter to deduce your weakness, games that are actually good.
Now it's time for you to go to hell, once and for all!
You had already been in hell.
Double hell?
Yeah, double hell, double hell. I guess that's that.
Yeah, I was awfully considerate of him not to splatter his blood on my shirt when he was dying. Red stain on green is nasty every time.
Well, I mean, you want to go make a video to celebrate?
Dude, fuck that. Let's just play Geometry Dash or something.